Hello YouTube friends, it's Dr. Teresa again. Today we're going to take the next step with putting the Seahorse aquarium together. I'm going to switch to the aquarium here. If you watched the previous video, you might remember that I talked about my concern of not being able to put on a protein skimmer on the tank because seahorses produce a lot of waste. And I mentioned my husband crafted an alternate lid for me, taking the shape of the original glass, which is right here, and then notched out an area for me to attach a hang on the back protein skimmer. And this front area here is where the lid sits, and my husband's currently gluing on a handle for that, so that will be ready by the time I'm ready to set up the tank. And I'm going to take off the lid, and I want to show you what I have done. You may remember in a previous video that I needed to extend the intake tube on the hang on the back filter, and that worked out really nice. It was actually cheaper to buy the brand new filter than to buy the extension tubes, and this worked out good because this extension goes all the way to the bottom, or almost all the way to the bottom of the tank, which is exactly what I wanted. Then I'm going to show you the inside. I'm running water here with a cap full of bleach, and that's just to get the last little bit of algae on the seams cleaned out, and this equipment that I'm using, make sure that it is clean enough and ready to go to use, because it's really important to keep things as clean as possible when working with seahorses. You'll notice that I do have the tank of the filter here, and I'm only running the sponge. This is the brand new sponge that came with the filter. I don't have the other filtration media in here, like the carbon and the pad that come together in the little kit, because those will pull out materials that I want to leave in the water right now, because that bleach is doing its job. Eventually, after running for a few hours like this tank has been doing, the chlorine in the bleach will dissipate and the water will be pretty much safe, but I will be dumping this water out when I'm done with it, but I still have some use out of it. Taking a look at the skimmer, it's working beautifully, and this is wonderful. You can see that I actually have some bubbling happening, which is really impressive because there's not even any salt water in here. This is being done with fresh water, which just shows you the effectiveness of this particular skimmer. And it's a little bit hard to see, but some liquid has actually built up in the lid here. Okay, the focus has gone off. There we are. Let me see if I can get the focus a little bit better. There, you can see the liquid there. In fact, some is spilling out on the side. So I'm really impressed that it's pulled out anything at all from the water, because this is pure fresh water. If I had salt water in here, you would have an idea of the great efficiency of this particular skimmer. It is really designed to create lots and lots of those micro bubbles that pull the proteins out of the water. This is running with a power head, and you can see I have that attached with the hose now, and in the back I have some suction cups holding up the power head to the wall, so it's not relying just on that tubing to hold it into place there. And that is working out well. Everything is fitting in here. There's a nice flow rate between both the power filter and the skimmer. And having these things run have helped me already clean up the insides of the different parts of the protein skimmer. So I'll actually finish up this job by using an old toothbrush and dip the different pieces inside of the tank and clean that out. You'll notice I also have a piece of coral inside of the tank. It is real coral. I pulled that out from my 300-gallon aquarium, and I wanted to put it in here not only to whiten it up, but to get that discoloration off, because that was a buildup of algae and maybe animals who had embedded in there, like maybe bristleworms, and I didn't want any of those in the Seahorse aquarium. So this is going to continue to run, and again, I will use the toothbrush to clean off the last little bits, and when this is all finished running, I am going to dry it off, get it cleaned up, and then our next steps will be preparing for putting all the pieces together to put a tank environment completely set up for seahorses. I will be making some very minor modifications on the filter intake and the protein skimmer intake, and I'll talk about that later, what I'm going to do and why I'm going to be doing that. But things are coming along really nice. So I have made one purchase so far, and that was the new hang on the back filter. But like I said, that was just plain economics, just cheaper to buy a new filter than it was to buy the extension tubes that I wanted. I am going to be starting to invest in some pieces that I want to add. They're not expensive, and I have some gift cards that I'm going to use, but I'm pretty much just recycling things and putting them into the aquarium to keep the cost down as low as possible. And of course, there was the expense of a whopping $20 to buy the tank and the lid and the stand that it's going to go on. So it's been very reasonable. I really haven't bought anything new yet besides the new filter, and staying within a nice little budget if that's something that is a consideration for you and you do have old equipment that you can recycle. So definitely it can be done. Thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate having you with me, and I hope you'll join me next time for the next installment.